the desert of the real.
Welcome to the Desert of the Real. I am your host, Ryan Hudson, and joined with me is your co-host, Jason. And Jason, do you have a last name?
Dates.
Oh, I think people should ask about last names more often. Don't you agree?
Yeah.
I think it should happen more than once in one movie.
Absolutely. And I feel like you should be able to change your last name whenever you want.
Actually, that's one of my pros for this movie.
Okay,
This is...
Well, it's not one of mine.
We're talking...
I about puked at the end of this movie.
We are talking about...
I got Mary and Joseph glowing over here in the corner, and she's like, yes, I am Jesus. Anyhow.
We are talking about the last Star Wars movie.
Officially, the worst movie we have. Well, no.
Maybe. We'll talk about it, I think.
The Christmas thing was the worst.
That one doesn't count.
Okay,
however,
this is my worst.
that is actually the only episode I've gone back to listen to again just because it's so much fun. It's just us being flabbergasted continually of what was going on in the Christmas special. Anyway,
Especially the stripper in the
yes.
family Christmas special.
So this is our last episode of Star Wars. The Desert of the Real is a movie podcast where I forced Jason to watch big blockbuster movies he didn't think were worth his time. We're two English language arts high school teachers with graduate degrees, and we attempt to use our academic training to dig deeply into movies. We explore the creativity, philosophy, film studies, and ethics in our films and push you, the listener, to think critically of your entertainment. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you've been enjoying the Star Wars journey from prequels to original to sequels. And here we are at the end.
Yes, finally.
Whether you agree or disagree, we are happy you're here and that you listen to us talk about it.
Yeah.
And we'll see what we have to say about this episode.
Yep. It definitely means a lot.
We have some technical challenges today, but also if you hear any noise, once again, those are just random students walking by. We're at the high school. But we also have a special guest, and we hope the audio works here.
Our special guest and the father of my critical thinking is back. Martin Harris will be joining us today for this. Can we call this a movie? I don't.
Oh, it's definitely a movie.
Well, okay. I guess it is.
By definition, I think.
So, welcome, Martin. You want to say hello to our adoring fans?
Hello, adoring fans. I do love being on the Desert of the Real podcast. I appreciate our hosts, Jason and Ryan. To give you my background on this movie, I hated The Last Jedi so much that I never watched this movie.
Hey, that's my same story, but much earlier.
Yeah, except for not at all, because you just watched it for the first time.
So you've never seen it?
I flushed the franchise after The Last Jedi, so there's no redemption available here.
Right.
This was my first foray into whatever this is, the Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah.
So that's my perspective on it.
Did you ever watch the TV shows that came out since, like Mandalorian?
Heck no.
That's my boy. That's what I'm talking about.
I don't get a lot of time for media in my life, so I'm pretty selective with what I watch. And no, I've seen Mandalorian clips and stuff. Looks like it could be digestible, but honestly, I was so burned after The Last Jedi. I had no ganas.
Dude, I was telling Jason that, and how all these people are wrong about it, and just wrote off the sequels because of it.
Well, and imagine what they would have missed out on if they had just watched the final movie. I mean, there's so much here to love. Like, help me out.
Well, there's a lot of peril. So they get into a lot of like sticky situations, but suddenly there's this really cool and unexpected Deus Ex Machina moment where the thing that needs to happen miraculously happens.
Yeah, it just happens. Yeah.
And then, like really soon after that, there's like peril again. It's crazy, all the wacky situations they get into.
It
And then
is
like,
wacky.
yeah, and then like there's a fairy godmother and there's a
Yep.
wand, and all of a sudden
Yep.
there's a ball, and it's amazing over and
It's
over.
just a lot of fun. Yeah. Or not.
Okay, so there's a couple of things you might not have known. There is an official Star Wars sanctioned audio of Palpatine's message. How the opening crawl starts out, the dead speak. There is an audio of the dead speak. And do you want to know where you can listen to that?
Not at all.
It was premiered in, this is true, 100% true, during a live event on Fortnite, the video game. So if you were playing at that specific time and at a specific event, you would have heard Palpatine's message. And that is the only way to listen to that right now.
Wow. So just randomly started talking and the end?
I know you would have known that something was going to happen. Fortnite does stuff.
Okay.
But you needed to be in the game, in a video game, to hear the literal message that the dead speaking.
Cool.
Is it?
Not at all, but
No.
I'm sure you think it's cool.
No, I think it's dumb.
Oh,
why
good.
would they do that?
I don't know.
Actually, hey, here's the problem. Like I said last week, they didn't have a plan for this trilogy.
No kidding.
They didn't know what that was going to happen. So
Right, last week they just got done shooting like 10 minutes and then we're like, okay, what else are we gonna do? And then they made this other thing. I was right. Boom.
Okay, so no, you're not.
That's dubs right there.
Okay, so
Okay.
this is barely a sequel to The Last Jedi. It's more of a sequel to The Force Awakens. So I said last week there was a different director and writer attached to the 9th movie, Colin Trevorrow, who is responsible for Jurassic World and Jurassic World 2, which to his credit, I guess, was one of like the most successful movies of all time. So it was like, you know, they had a plan. However, due to creative differences, Colin Trevorrow was kicked out and replaced with JJ. So yes, this movie is kind of messy because, and while nothing is confirmed, it definitely feels like Disney is cowering to the rabid fans that overreacted over The Last Jedi because they were upset. And we talked about this last week. So it feels like this movie is trying to clean up the remnants of Last Jedi. And this is what we got. So for better or worse, it became maybe backtreading, like, let's get our fans back. What can we do? What can we do? I know, maybe Palpatine will work, that type of thing. What can we do to make our fans happy? Because they were happy 2 movies ago, but now they're not. The problem is the Colin Trevorrow script was released to the internet, and you can like read it. You can look up summaries of it. And unfortunately, it kind of feels like there's some ideas there that are better than this movie. And so they kept enough.
Let me just say Mac and Me is better than this movie.
Okay, so Colin Trevorrow's ideas from his script were they're still prevalent enough that he gets a writing credit for this movie.
Oh, wow.
So a couple of differences. His movie would have been called Duel of the Fates, which is kind of a cooler title.
Yeah.
No Palpatine. Kylo would have been the only bad guy.
Okay, that's already massively better script.
Right. And
Better cosign.
it was written before Carrie Fisher died in real life, so no matter what, things would have changed. But Kylo kind of became an anti-Luke Skywalker because he goes at one point to find someone who could teach him the like evil ways of the Sith, like Yoda. He finds the evil alien version, like a spider thing. I don't know what the name was, but like he kills this guy. He gets so angry, holocron blows up in his face, so his face is like literally part permanent mask versus his face. But then the other great idea is Finn. He was charged. He went to go get an army. He goes and assembles the stormtroopers, which was what he should have done in this movie. And they kind of do it a tiny bit, but in the original idea, Finn It's like, I was one of you. Let's all rebel, and he gets an army, and it happens on Coruscant.
Yeah, all that sounds much
The
better.
lightsaber isn't there, but because it's split in two, it's like a double-bladed lightsaber, so she was still able to work it together. And then there's a big battle with Kylo, yada yada yada. At the end, R2D2 kind of he projects a montage of all the movies because he was there for all of it.
Oh my!
And it would have been
That would have been bad, but the rest sounds really good.
Anyway, yeah, there's unfortunately some better ideas. However, that's not the movie we got.
No,
we got the Rise of Skywalker.
Yes.
Yeah. I have an overarching argument that'll make you mad, but
okay. Well, that seems to be a theme for this podcast. So.
Yeah, that's fair. Okay. And this is a hot take. I think this movie is unfortunate. It's not a satisfying ending for a trilogy, let alone a saga.
Let alone the saga.
Exactly.
Okay.
And this movie came out the same year as Endgame. It was like the year of things ending. Endgame came out this year. Game of Thrones ended this year, and Star Wars was supposed to be the amazing end this year. So my argument is, if you isolated this movie somehow, like if you pretend Force Awakens does not exist, if you pretend The Last Jedi does not exist, this is one of the most Star Wars things to ever Star Wars, basically.
What do you mean by that?
So let's say, just imagine this is the only one, okay? We pop in, guess what? Palpatine, he's back. There's an army fight.
He's not back because he never left. Because he never existed before.
Right. But in my argument, like, if you can somehow think of this one as a standalone, it's not the end of a trilogy anymore. It's like, oh, there was a new army fighting the Palpatine. He's got a new army there. And we have lightsaber fights. We got spaceship battles. We got giant monsters. It's like the most Star Wars to ever Star Wars.
Okay.
But like I'm saying, this is not. It's one of the bad ones, though.
Yes. I think it's the bad one.
Is it worse than the prequels?
Yes. Yep. I felt like, okay, so I'm a little kid, right? I have a favorite toy. This toy is called Star Wars. I felt like Sid from Toy Story got a hold of my favorite toy, took it over to his house, took the head off of it, stuck it on a little doll, and then took the doll out to his little barbecue, doused it in lighter fluid, burned it up, took whatever was left and fed it to Scud. That's what happened. That's my metaphor. That's what happened with this movie. The end.
I thought the movie was summarized very nicely when they get into the quicksand and, oh no, quicksand, and they sink into it and that's it. And man, there's just no escape from that. And then they fall into a cave, which is not how gravity works. And then in the cave, they come across the Monty Python serpent. And and the only thing in my head was that you find the dagger in the castle. Because that was the worst looking cave serpent since Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
Looks okay. I think the fact that it becomes a MacGuffin chase is annoying.
Well, and
the movie is full of that. Like everything's a MacGuffin chase. So many just side quests, and they just fill screen time with it instead of doing things that are meaningful.
Yes.
And then they just have all of these really contrived moments where they're in trouble. Oh my goodness, they get caught at the festival and there's no escape now. Oh, crossbow. And who is it? Oh, it's Lando. How amazing. That's awesome.
That was the moment where I was like, oh man, no.
But it's Lando.
Yeah. And
okay, hang on.
Remember?
No, yeah, I remember Mando. So the way that this movie went for me, at the start, like this starts with Palpatine, right?
Yeah,
I don't remember. Okay. So I started with the word no. That was I'm like, no, you cannot do that. And then we go, oh, guess what we can do? Light speed skipping. Whatever. It's just there. I'm like, no. No, we can, and then we have the Sith Wayfinder, which is which is like calling a base Star Splody base or whatever they called the other stupid base. Anyhow, so the early part, probably the first 20 minutes, was my no, no, and then when they start the quest, which is like giving me flash forwards of when we do Lord of the Rings in a year or two.
No, in
I was like,
weeks.
heck no. The moment where I was like, this is the pieces of garbage is when they fell through the quicksand, exactly what you were just talking about, and they pop out in a tunnel underneath. I'm like, how is that even? That's not what you just. Anyhow, so that was like the other H word, no. And then where was my first? And then I finally progressed to like, why the heck not? Whatever, just whatever. So I've got all sorts of, okay, sure, why not? So we have, let's see, this isn't going to be in order, but we like they're going to get Finn off of the friggin' side of a spaceship? Sure, why not? There's super space lightning that blows up entire planets. Why not? Yep.
All right.
Bringing back the dead. Oh, hey, that's a nice new force ability that might have been useful in, I don't know, literally every other movie.
The dead speak, Jason.
Shut up. All of the frickin' ships in the entire universe showing up at the exact same time to help out Poe and his little band of misfits. Yeah, let's do that. Life sucky outy power. Yeah, why not? Let's throw that in. We're gonna do a ground invasion on a ship, and we're gonna breathe.
All right, that
vacuum. Sure, why not? Let's do that. Let's do that. Every Jedi is in her. Yeah. Why not? Yeah. Ewoks. Let's just throw some freaking Ewoks in there. Sure, why not? And then Rey showing, and Rey is Rey Skywalker. Ugh. Yeah, let's do that too. Why not? This whole movie. Oh, and we have a Power Ranger. That was awesome.
Yeah.
Like, there's a Power Ranger showing up in the middle of this. I'm like, aren't you you're probably on the wrong set. Okay. So yeah, I went from no to heck no to why not? Whatever. Just and the why not whatever happened about a little under an hour into this movie. I'm like, what a just can we? And that's the moment when I shifted from normal speed to like 1.5 speed. But I couldn't understand it, so I went back to 1.2 speed and I watched the rest of the movie on 1.2 speed because life is too short. Anyhow, there you go. That's my initial salvo. Good. I have
Hey,
other.
you want my salvo?
Yeah, let's do it.
Here's the problem. J.J. Abrams is the problem. J.J. Abrams is good, very good. He is the best, in fact, I think, at grand set pieces. He creates layered scenes where you've got stuff in the distance, in the middle distance, in the near distance, and on the ground that is just stunning and beautiful. And he uses that much. Problem is, the only thing that happens in the scene is people standing around and talking. It's all exposition. This movie is the poster child for told and not shown.
Yeah.
Hey, we have to go to this place and do this thing. Why would we have to do that? Because this. Oh, okay. Let's go find this guy and go do the thing then. Okay, let's do the thing. Goes thing. Another set piece. Oh, hey, we're at the place to do the thing. That's lucky. Let's do the thing. Oh no, there's this unlikely thing that just happened. I wonder how we'll get out of this. Hey, how about unlikely thing number 2? Okay, that's great. We go to another place, big set piece, desert scene. We're in the festival. We escape out of the festival and we're being chased across the desert by the First Order, who has ground and air supremacy.
Yes.
And does not use the air supremacy. You do not fight a ground war.
They fly now.
Air cover if you have it. Period.
They fly now. They fly now.
They fly now.
We have flyingness. Yeah, that was in my sure, whatever.
Dear listener, We experienced major technical difficulties, and you are now hearing us talking a literal week later than we were just talking. A lot of things happened.
Yeah.
Nothing
The
recorded.
perfect storm.
But what the truth is, you're going to miss out on a lot of great stuff we talked about that we'll never be able to recapture.
Including all of my notes.
Yeah,
Thrown out
he threw them away, so he's just going off memory, I guess.
because we were done.
We'll do our best to recapture our thoughts on the Rise of Skywalker. There is a moment, though, I am sad we're going to miss.
What's that?
When you were complaining, it's like, Rey does this all the time. You're like, Rey's like, blah, 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 blah. I don't know what to do. Now I know what to do. And I was like, what's one example of that?
I've got one. Yeah.
And you couldn't think of one at the time. It was pretty funny.
It was.
What's your one example of that now?
Like her finding the
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah, I
She's
mean,
like this entire massive ship. She has no idea where to go. Wait. I know. And she just goes right to it.
well, okay.
That's one example.
No, that's not the example, because that's
yes, it is.
the dagger. Like, its one and only job is to point
I
to the
understand.
specific point where she climbs
but the
into.
argument I was making is that anytime this plot gets stuck, they use Rey's quote-unquote force ability to get it unstuck. And that happens, I think, 4 or 5 times. I gave you one example. Don't ask what the other 3 are, because it's a week out and I've done my best to flush this movie out of my brain.
Is this the worst Star Wars movie?
Yes. I think, honestly, I mean, my passion has dulled somewhat since last week. But last
For
week,
Star Wars?
No, just my anger and fury at this movie.
You were mad.
I was mad because it ruined Star Wars. It ruins it. I think this is my least favorite movie that we have watched for this podcast, with the exception of the Star Wars Christmas special.
Which is a lot of fun. Not to watch by yourself, but
No.
I had a lot of fun watching it with you.
Actually, that's true. I had a lot of fun watching it with you, too.
I don't like this movie. If this was somehow magically a standalone, it would be the most Star Wars movie to ever Star Wars.
Yeah.
However, this does not function as an end of a trilogy.
No.
Which the problem was the entire time that they didn't have a plan for 3 movies.
Yeah, and that shows very clearly.
I think the sequels might have a similar legacy as the prequels. How it's like, what were those people complaining about? These are not bad. The difference being now, one, people don't own physical media like they used to. And back in the day, it's like, well, let's just rewatch Star Wars. I don't want to watch don't want to watch the TV because I don't like the shows on right now. We'll put on a movie.
Yeah.
A VHS.
Yes.
You know? And even like prequels, you know, everyone just owned those movies. Like I said in the I said in the Phantom Menace episode, one of the most successful home media films of all time.
Is that the first?
Phantom Menace, yeah.
Is that
like it came out on VHS and.
Is that Pod Racer the movie?
Yeah, Pod Racer the movie.
I actually did own that one.
Yeah.
You're right.
So that's the thing. Like, a lot of movies have a special place in our heart because of physical media. Like Princess Bride is a perfect example. Didn't do well in the box office. Didn't do well financially. But it was just one of those movies, like everyone owned on VHS, and that's how it grew its cult status, basically. But now there's too much. It's so interesting watching my kids. They're like, "What do you want to watch?" And here's all of Disney Plus. You know,
Right.
Kids might not sit back and watch a movie they probably would have if it wasn't for streaming. Right. So, I mean, that's to say the legacy of the sequels is murky. Like, who knows? What's going to latch on?
They're not good, so probably nothing.
But it is Star Wars. And if you go to Disneyland, the Star Wars land at Disneyland is all sequel based. It's all like you'll see Kylo Ren, you'll see Rey, you'll see the stormtroopers that look like these movies.
So they're still trying to convince us to care about these movies? Is that what they're doing?
I think kind of. And I know they're retroactively bringing in older things too. And I just believe these movies will be like, oh, what were those angry nerds about?
That can't be. No, I don't agree at all. As I was watching this movie, I genuinely felt like my childhood best friend was being like pulverized by J.J. Abrams.
J.J.
Like just like, and this is at least supposedly this was the last one we were gonna get, right?
Yeah, and like I said, there's maybe I think 4 at different points of production right now.
And so the sequels have basically destroyed all of Star Wars for me. Like all of the characters, with the possible exception of Leia, are now these milquetoast kind of characters now. There's no fire, there's no passion, there's nothing to them.
Yeah.
Like Han Solo just is gonna walk up to his son and allow his son to shank him.
All right. Okay. Hold on.
I'm not bringing that up.
I know, but that's.
I'm not bringing that up.
You brought it up, but
no,
that's just that's a bad example of what you're trying to say. No, that's like a fantastic scene moment in all of Star Wars.
We're
in my
never
opinion.
ever gonna agree on that. Or we got Luke Skywalker. He was always this whiny, kind of whiny butt, but now he's a whiny butt that's also like a chicken, and he also is not interested in doing the right thing because it's the right thing anymore until he shows up in the nauseating catching of his friggin' lightsaber in the fireplace or whatever, and that was horrible. You cannot defend
Let me just defend that.
No, because not defensible. That was terrible.
Here's how some people see it. Like, this is JJ literally. You can see a giant pencil erasing parts of The Last Jedi. It's like, remember when you got mad when Luke threw it over his shoulder? Now he catches it and says, a Jedi's weapon deserves more respect.
What I'm talking about.
But to me, that's just an example of character growth. It's like, yeah, in The Last Jedi, he thought he was a failure, and now he's come to terms with being Luke Skywalker again.
My bigger point is all of these characters that, like, I've played as a child.
Yeah.
I played them. I was them. They were a part of me. They're now all ruined.
Okay, but part of, I guess...
Except for Leia and maybe Chewie.
Well, Chewie's always the best.
Yeah, I agree, but I always felt that Chewie was a deeper character than we got in these 3 movies.
Yeah.
He's just the furry guy that goes, raw. There's nothing there. I mean, he does have his moments where the people that he loves dies.
Yeah,
But there's nothing after that. Like, if like, Han Solo is his guy.
Yeah.
Like, what is it, 40 years? Something like, I don't know how long they've been the guys.
Yeah.
He dies, and there's no lasting impact at all
on
to Chewie's character. Nothing.
Yeah, that's fair.
And so...
That's fair, Dietz. You hear what I said?
I did.
That's a good point.
You should get used to saying that because it's going to be a lot. Anyhow, so I personally, this is irredeemable to me. Like, my childhood has been...
Did you know there's a documentary? Okay, but here's the thing. There was a literal documentary about why George Lucas is a bad person for the prequels with that same mindset.
Yeah.
And now it's the same thing. Here's the thing. I don't like this movie. I don't want to be like the defender for the Rise of Skywalker. I know. This is easily bottom tier Star Wars.
Right.
There are things I do like about it.
Yeah. We covered none of those.
Yeah, because it probably got erased.
It did.
You know what?
It went into the ether.
Let me just.
I had 3 things that I liked.
Let me just list a few things I like.
I don't remember what they were at this point, but.
All right.
Oh, C-3PO dying. That was one.
Oh. Yeah, then he came back. See, that was another
Which
big
was
thing.
super.
The two fake outs back to back.
Yeah, that's
Chewbacca's dead. Oh, just kidding. C-3PO.
I still don't remember seeing a second transport.
Oh, yeah, it's literally...
I'm not going to go back and find it, but...
C-3PO, oh no, his mind has gone forever. Just kidding, it's back.
There was a definite celebratory moment in my soul when he's like... Ugh.
I love C-3PO in this movie, though. He's one of my pros because he's so funny, I think. I think he's a good part. He's been in all of them. He let Anthony Daniels have his little moment.
I mean, he did. He's probably a millionaire.
Like when they mentioned Babu Frick after he got his mind erased. Babu Frick, he's my oldest friend.
I don't even know who that is.
That was the tiny guy that goes, hey! He's the little... he's
like
little
the one that wiped his brain out?
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay, here's just a list of things I like. And once again, I need to stress a movie I don't love.
Okay.
I love the line, I don't want you to win. I want Kylo to lose.
Yeah.
Which we'll get back into that one.
Yeah, with ethics.
I think it's kind of cool. Leia disappears, her body, when Ben disappears. Like they were connected or... I mean, that's a small thing. Like, they had to work around Carrie Fisher being dead in real life.
Yeah. Using
the deleted scenes from Force Awakens. And it is what it is. I think if she didn't die, she would have been in the whole movie and wouldn't have died. But I think it's kind of interesting, just a little thing to like, I wonder why that is, where it's her body stays until... There's literally no reason that she died, plot-wise. Maz, the alien, is a puppet in this instead of CGI. I don't know who that is, but that's probably a good thing. The little orange alien. The eyeball woman? Yeah, the eyeball woman. Here's the thing. I hate Rey being a Palpatine. That I agree. Sucks. However, the one and only argument for it is... Doesn't matter who you are, who your parents are, who your grandparents are, you can choose your legacy. You can choose who you are. You can make your life your own. And it's Fast Eddie. Do you remember who Fast Eddie was? Something to do with Al Capone. Al Capone's lawyer. Al Capone, is he... Easy to say, not a good person. Yeah. Bad person. Bad guy. Did crimes. Yes, right. Yeah, is it fair to say there are crimes involved? It's like the atom bomb killed people. Anyway, his lawyer... I've been to his jail cell. How is it? It's pretty. On the set of the Sean Connery film The Rock? Not the Alcatraz one, the one in the East Coast. Oh. That's gave him cool like too. A double room suite. And why not? He had art supplies, and so there's this mural that he painted. Wow. Yeah. Man, maybe we misunderstood him. Anyhow, sorry to... No, his lawyer, a bad guy, because he got a bad person out of doing crimes involving murder. Yes. And other things. Murder. A lot of murder. So his lawyer, not a good person. However, Fast Eddie's son, a war hero, saved lives. The O'Hare Airport is named after him, the son. And it's son of Fast Eddie. Yeah, where it's like, it doesn't matter who you come from. You can shape your own destiny. Yeah. You can choose to be a Skywalker. Yeah, I can just pick whatever last name I want. And Thor. You will now address me as Thor. Jason Thor. That's fine. I like that. I mean, admittedly, that's my argument for it. But if I could choose, give us what Last Jedi did. Rey from nowhere. Yes. That is so much more powerful. I 100% agree. Because bringing Palpatine back was dumb. And we talked about Colin Trevorrow's script, which is out there. It had Kylo Ren as the one and only bad guy. Yeah. More interesting. Yep. But I guess you could say maybe it ties all 9 of these movies together. No. I know. I'm not trying to defend this movie. You are trying to defend it. You're coming up with defenses. That's called. Here are other some things. That's what happens when you defend. Other things I like. I like Han Solo coming back. Boom! I said it again. I hate that. I think that's the best scene in this movie. Full octane hate. Because I think Kylo is, admittedly, in all three of these, he's the strongest link in all three. And that is key. Han Solo, in The Force Awakens, set that seed. Like, I'm not going to argue with this, so just don't say anything back.
I'm going to.
When Han knew he was going to die walking on that bridge.
False.
But he knew, or at least hoped. Remember, Star Wars is all about hope.
Member berries. Oh.
Han had this hope that if anything, he could plant the seeds of Ben's redemption. And he did. Because he saw that conversation again. It's not a Force ghost, which is some poor interviewer asked Harrison Ford if he was a Force ghost. And Harrison's like, I don't care. It's in the movie. It says a memory. You're a memory. That's that's all I need. He has been having that conversation with his dad over and over again in his mind, wishing to redo it differently. And in this time, he threw his lightsaber. So here's the thing.
Sure.
I remember in theaters. Stop. People
What?
cheering. Stop.
I'm being silenced, listener.
Listener, this is a good use of rhetoric. Just say no. Stop. It wins a lot more times than you think it will.
Okay, so Han Solo showing up
a movie, a clip,
is a
moment like that. A moment like that.
What I was talking about earlier.
Earning cheers in the theater would not happen if it wasn't at least successful to some degree.
Yeah.
And you're right.
Han Solo is no longer the rogue, no longer the spunky joke teller, no longer the trickster, no longer any of that.
Well, he's dead now.
He's now this like old person that just touches people's faces. There's
goodness,
is dead now. Physically.
Let the past die.
Han Solo is also
kill it if you have to.
Is also dead as a character.
Everything disagree. His death, his sacrifice had lasting consequences.
Everything that is Han Solo is gone.
Well, now because he died,
and now because it has been killed by J.J.
Here's if Carrie didn't die, Carrie Fisher, we're on first name basis apparently. I bet
I call her Carrie.
She would have had a similar scene, and you would have hated it just as much. But it would have been
patted his other cheek.
Maybe
they could have.
It's like poetry; it rhymes.
Yeah, they could have simultaneously held his cheeks, squished him, made a little pretty piece of bunny. What else you got?
Leia's theme from the original trilogy is so beautiful. When you are young and spunky,
life was an open book.
You're like, the best Star Wars songs are the ones that sound the coolest, and
dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, you're right. They are the coolest. When you get older, more mature, listen to Leia's.
They're still dun, dun.
All right, hold on. You are on one. Listen to Leia's theme, and you're like, man, this one's also like the best one somehow.
Cool.
Here's a con. The music in this one's arguably the worst out of all of them, which is a big disappointment because
just take the music off of that sentence and just that would be worse.
Here's a pro. John Williams is in this. He has a little cameo. Yeah. He's a little bartender with a patch eye.
I'll have to not go look for that.
You can't really tell, but on the special features, you can watch a featurette of his little character, his little moment, and you can see figurines behind John Williams, and they're all little nods, references to all of his movies. I was like, hey, there's the time turner from Harry Potter. There's a Hook from Hook.
I love Hook.
Maybe we should do Hook next.
We should do all the Peter Pan movies. That'd be interesting.
That would be interesting. Anyway, so it's cool that John Williams had a little moment.
That is cool.
Like you said, when
this movie sucks.
I don't like this movie.
Okay, why don't we just stop trying to make excuses for it?
I actually like the light speed skipping. I think that's not only that, I think it's visually kind of cool. It also makes sense. And also the little...
Okay.
Don't do it, your ship will explode. Yeah, it was about to explode.
Yeah.
That's why you can't do it all the time.
Jumped like 8 times.
Yeah, you're not supposed to.
It was just right there. It was gonna... Okay, and just so we're not going to allow your absolutely absurd statement to stand.
What?
Can you think of any other situation in the previous 8 movies where that particular ability might have been useful?
Here's the argument against that
In every single movie, perhaps? Multiple times? Oh,
this is like... What if you're not your son, but your son's friend drove your car?
If it's more like...
Stop. And
what if we take everything that's important and awesome about Star Wars and take a hammer and smash it into little bits?
The Millennium Falcon... Danger. What is this? Is this the podcast right now? Just 2 people yelling at the same time.
There's no danger. If I can just... whatever light speed skip out of the situation...
I was going to sit here.
Then there's no danger. There's no cost to it.
But there was danger. Remember the little TIE fighters? They could light speed skip too.
All of a sudden.
Because it's also, once again, the continuation of the technology, which makes sense. If you can track people light speed, now it's in all your ships.
Upgraded the Millennium Falcon between the last movie and
I'm saying the bad guys upgraded.
With light speed skipping ability? Is that what you're saying?
That's always been there. You don't do it because you can explode.
That's never been there.
It could have been. No one.
Any of the previous 8 movies did somebody be like,
"What?
Hey Han, let's light speed skip," and he's like, "No, I can't because it's gonna wreck my ship." Not us.
All right. So
not once.
When you have like a sequel, any sequel, there's actually.
You should smash everything about the previous movies and just make out whatever you want. Yeah,
okay. All right. This is all right. Why are you doing this? Because you're always like, why is it the same? The fact that it's the same is bad, and then it does something different, and you're like, this is the worst. Make it the same again. That's what you're doing right now.
There's a massive difference between being creative and rewriting the past to serve the needs of whatever need he had for light speed skipping. I don't even know. It didn't really do anything plot wise.
Exactly. So why
do anything? So he's just like, let's ignore all of the lore of and all of the everything that before. Like, for example, okay, so we're in whatever movie, the stupid movie one where there was the gigantic space worm thing.
Solo.
Yeah. That might have been a really useful time to be like, you know what? I have this ability. We don't use it very often because,
All right, okay, wait.
There's a black hole sucking us in and this big freaking worm gonna eat us. But we're not gonna use it because it might blow a few circuit breakers. Give me a break, JJ. Sorry, I'm done for that particular topic.
I mean, technically, they did try to light speed out of that situation in that movie. Light speed... I don't know why I'm doubling down on this. I just think it looks cool, and you're personally offended.
I am, because it wrecks.
I don't think so. I think...
You are the,
okay, can I say my...
apologist. We're changing... Your last name is going to be apologist.
All right.
Thor, and you're an apologist.
Okay, but here's the thing. My metaphor, I think, holds up. It's not your child driving your car. It's your child's friend who doesn't care if they drive recklessly.
That's true.
That's what light speed skipping is like.
You
would never do it because it's stupid. Anyway, I feel like I'm good with that argument.
Great, go with that. Go with that.
I think, let's see here.
We're being sucked into a wormhole. Okay, sorry. There's no way out.
yeah, Finn not having an arc
Yeah, Finn
is
boring.
bad. I hate the planet destroying guns.
Yeah.
I think
That's another example of what I'm talking about.
a more effective thing would have been
Anything.
like in Rogue One, how the explosion was just huge.
Yeah.
Like planets don't get destroyed in Rogue One, but
No.
you see like
Very
huge
large
chunks.
explosion.
That would have been way more effective.
Yeah.
It's almost like so big it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's absurd.
Yeah, like your brain just like, oh, whatever.
So they spend, I don't know, how long did it take to build the first Death Star?
From in
Long
between
time.
episode 3 to 4, so roughly 20 years, however old Luke is.
Great. Takes 20 years to build that, and there's a million of the same weapon.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No.
I agree, Deets.
Okay.
The trio of friends arguing is frustrating because I think it would have been like this. I don't know.
They're arguing about nothing.
They're
all
just
the
being
time.
mean, kinda.
Yeah.
Also, I wish Rose was with them. I wish it was the 4 of them.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, I know you don't care. Whatever. Put Claude. Put Claude the alien in there instead of Rose. Put Mary from Lord of the
Flip
Rings
is
in there.
Claude.
Claude's the giant slug guy with giant eyes.
Yeah, what? Like,
Put Rose in the ship instead of Claude.
giant slug guy?
And then
He
JJ
didn't
gets
even do anything.
JJ gets all of his friends, like the different X-Wing pilots. Put Rose in those characters. Why do we have Dominic? I mean, I love the guy. I forget his last name. Dominic's whatever. He's Mary from Lord of the Rings, by the way. He's also in Lost, another JJ thing.
Oh,
he's
that
Charlie.
guy.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
give Rose
like
those
that guy.
lines. Yeah, he's pretty fun. I can't wait to talk about him in our Lord of the Rings episodes coming up.
Okay, in a year.
Anyway, yeah, the 2 fake out deaths is bad.
Very annoying.
This movie, to me, feels like it wants to be 2 movies. Just make it 2 movies.
See, okay, can I just back up with the fake out death thing?
Yeah.
Because the problem, especially with C-3PO's fake out death,
Mm-hmm.
is it completely robs him of any valor at all.
Exactly.
If he had sacrificed, like, I feel like in Empire, right? Han Solo kind of willingly goes into the carbon thing chamber to
Yeah.
save his friends. And he didn't know he was coming back out, and he didn't for quite a while, and
Yeah.
he shouldn't have.
Well, and
but,
Harrison wanted him to die. Did we talk about
Yeah,
that?
we did.
Okay.
and right, so we leave Empire thinking, yeah, he's dead. And there's the mourning and the sense of sacrifice. 3PO's not dead for longer than, what, 3
Yeah.
minutes?
Like, you don't feel
2
it.
minutes?
Doesn't-
You don't feel it. There's nobody cares. So, much as I don't really care for C-3PO, giving him some kind of heroic thing to do finally after 9 episodes of him just running away and
Yeah.
being annoying,
Yeah.
basically in every way possible, I think. He could have had that, but we robbed that too. So
Yeah.
that's the problem.
It's bad.
for me.
And
Not
you know
nec-
what?
Go ahead.
Sorry. There's
We're not yelling over each other anymore. We've made up.
there's concept art like made before production even happened of like Chewie in chains on a ship. So it's like it was in plan, like him being captured for a long time. But the concept art has him facing Kylo Ren. And if you think about it, like Chewie arguably helped raise Ben, you know? Like maybe as like an uncle figure.
Yeah.
But you don't get any of that in this. That would have
There's so much that this could have been.
it would have helped that justification of we can't kill Chewie like this. Like, look, now Chewie has to face Ben, the person who killed his best friend, the person he saw grow up since a kid, like be this evil guy. But yeah, none of that. None of that.
It's Chewie's flatness there that I was talking about earlier. Just nothing, no change.
I know this is a minor thing, but Rey's hair going back to Force Awakens to me signifies JJ being like, "Oh, you liked Force Awakens. Let's go back to the hairstyle you like." Like,
Wow. Okay.
no, I think
Like, for real?
I think that's a deliberate choice because her character changes in Last Jedi. She lets her hair down for the first time maybe in her entire life. I don't know. It just seems like reverse character growth.
Probably.
I think what would have made a lot of people a little bit happier with this movie is if you saw the Force Ghosts. You saw Force Ghost Mace Windu, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Luke.
Oh, in like the climax
Yeah,
scene?
you saw Yoda. You hear other voices, like you hear like Ahsoka. You hear other characters from prequels and some of the cartoons.
See him.
Palpatine being like, strike me down.
Yeah.
You need to strike me down if you want me to die. Like, that's kind of an interesting ethical dilemma. I'm like, yeah, I do need to kill you, but then I become all of the Sith, but you'd be dead in that situation. As opposed to Rey being, I am all the Jedi. The Sith version is selfish. Look at all of us. I am all of them.
Right.
Versus the Jedi, we are all the Jedi.
That's not what she said.
But she says, I'm all the Jedi because
Yeah.
they are all with
my
her.
lightsabers and you die.
And then that's stupid.
Yeah.
But it's
but
if you would have
oh
seen,
yeah, you're all the Sith, neener, I'm also the Jedi.
Yeah, if you would have seen them just behind them, maybe even raising their hand, it's like, yeah, I'm all the Jedi because we all work together. We are all one in.
No, we are all in me.
Yeah, I
don't think that's true. I think possessed, just like he was. And her possession was higher powered than his or something. I don't know. The only part of that I liked was like the graphicness of
it's kind
Emperor's death.
Yeah, his skin.
Other than that, it's just absurd.
Yeah.
This movie just.
Here's one thing I'll say for part of the film studies.
Great.
The camera is alive. Like,
true. If
you watch them all in a row like we did, I think they all look good, first of all.
Yeah.
Force Awakens looks cool. But I think The Last Jedi is like, yeah, what if we made it cinematic? And what defines the connotation of cinematic? I don't know. And I don't know if anyone technically can say it. In fact, Greta Gerwig, one time, they recorded a bunch of directors talking to each other. And they asked her, what makes something cinematic? And her answer was, I don't know, but I know when I see it. I think that's true. I think The Last Jedi is the most cinematic out of all of them. But in this movie, I think it's like JJ, since he's made one Star Wars, he's like, yeah, I'm going to make this one. But now I know how to make it even better. And the camera's just flying around. The camera has all these kind of elaborate one takes or longer takes. Yeah. And it's exciting. It's engaging. Some people might say it's for show. Sure.
It is.
But it's really, I guess, yeah. And it's fun to watch, I guess. Yeah. Which isn't a great argument.
No.
Because like you'll see like Finn mowing down stormtroopers, and it's like, those are just people captured as children.
Are you talking about him mowing down those stormtroopers in the vacuum of space while he's standing on the outside of a ship? Is that the?
No, there's no problem with that.
Vacuum?
He had a mouth thing on. That's okay.
He had no mouth thing on. It's moronic.
So I guess
the ground landing
the cinematography, the literal camera movement, is the most fluid out of all the Star Wars.
Sure. We'll give you that.
Anyway.
You know what else is fluid? Super space lightning that blows up all of the ships.
That is kind of cool, though.
It's
the rule of cool, Deets.
Really, okay, so if the Emperor can do super space lightning and blow up all the ships, why do we have any of the movies at all? He could have just been rolled up into the Senate and been like, boom, and the whole Senate turns into friggin' rack of lambs and he just takes over the world. Anyone that's bad, like, we find the rebel base, oh look, here comes the rebels. No.
Yeah.
Stupid. This whole movie is stupid.
The
only good thing was C-3PO died briefly.
That's the only good thing.
What else? I kind of like the visual of the Emperor frying his own face. How stupid is he?
Yeah.
Like, You said in the when we were recording, is like, just turn off the lightning and you'll survive.
See, that's
I agree with
that's
that.
why it's like if the Jedi were there force pushing or whatever, like, oh, that's how you're dying.
Just turn it off.
But he's like, ah.
And then I still really like the Kylo Ray, like the chemistry on screen.
Yeah.
Although it's much less powerful in this movie than it was in the Last Jedi.
I feels like JJ specifically liked the Force dyad thing, their connection, because that's something that also grows. They're able to not just talk. He grabs the necklace. They have a lightsaber fight from 2 different locations. I think that's super cool and interesting.
It was.
Yeah.
It didn't have. I mean, it's cool and it's interesting, but it doesn't, like, there's no like emotional connection or cost or anything involved with that. But it's cool. I mean, it looks cool. I agree.
Yeah.
But I really was missing that just desperate need that Kylo had for Rey.
And also Rey had for Kylo.
And that Rey had for Kylo. Not sexual, but like the yin and the yang. Yeah. It was not here at all.
I agree,
and that was so frustrating because from where we left The Last Jedi, this could have been just an amazing ending where the Force becomes balanced through those two. And I don't even know the thought process that led to this movie. It doesn't make, nothing of this movie emerges out of The Last Jedi. Nothing of it is closing. We also have, I think, the worst locker room speech getting everyone ready. That was the worst one I've ever heard. Just trash. Anyhow, I'm trying to keep it real.
Yeah.
No.
I
wasn't earlier.
You're keeping it real.
Yeah. Earlier I was allowing my frustration out. So, our special guest is now ready to rejoin us.
He's back. So remember, listener, this is a week later.
Anyhow, so we're at the kind of the philosophy and ethics part. Martin Harris has rejoined us for this last little bit. So do you remember any of your key points that you want to bring back? We got your initial salvo.
Did you? Okay, good.
But that's it. That's all we have of what you said last week. So do you want to give us some quick recap?
Yes, I think you've probably covered most of my concerns with this movie. I wanted to point out for sure, make sure we covered this concept of power creep that has entered into all of our favorite IPs, whether it's Captain Marvel in the MCU, who can do everything that everybody else can do. She can wield the hammer. She's Iron Man without the suit. She flies through space. Everything for everybody all the time. And if she's on scene, everybody else can just go away. The problem has entered into the Star Wars universe, where we have power creep, where we had a Death Star and then another Death Star. And now in this movie, every ship has Death Star powers. Every ship has a cannon on it that can destroy an entire planet. And so I don't know for sure where the IP goes from here. What's the next thing? They almost need to scale it back and do some dark, gritty, single character kind of shows, my opinion. I'll give you an example. So in the DC universe, we had Batman fights this bad guy and Batman this guy, and there was a power creep kind of element to that, and the Batman's toys just get more and more powerful and more crazier, and the Batmobile just gets wilder and crazier, and now it's got monster truck tires and it can drive up the side of buildings or whatever. There was that power creep, and then they kind of reset that, in my opinion, with the Joker movie, where we have a single character, dark backstory. I love that movie. I have not watched the second one because I don't want to ruin the first one for me. I really like that. And so maybe Star Wars needs to do that. And we talked about earlier about a Rey movie where we have kind of Rey dealing with both sides of the Force within herself. That might work.
Now that Kylo's a part of her, I guess, or something.
Maybe we just forget all that and we just have a Ray movie. It's just, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't really understand what happened there, but yeah, I potentially would watch that. She's just balancing the force.
Yeah, well, we need to see a side of her that's more similar to the end of this movie, The Rise of Skywalker, where she is kind of conflicted and she is a little bit vulnerable and she does have some hard choices to make because for the prior 3 hours, three or two movies in 2 hours, right? For 6, 8 hours worth of movie, she is flawless. She is perfect at everything. She has all of these natural abilities. There is no character arc. She's just the most bestest at everything she ever tries to do. And it wasn't until the end of this movie that I really felt the human side of Ray. If we could lean into that in a movie context, I might be willing to watch that.
Yeah, I might too. But as of now, I'm done with Star Wars.
Thank goodness. My other question that I wanted to ask Ryan is
His new last name is Apologist.
okay, these movies are deliberately riding a very thin line between trying to draw my generation in with nostalgia bait while laying the groundwork for the next generation to latch on to Star Wars. And so the nostalgia bait that they fed me is Lando and Han Solo and Luke coming back and all of this stuff. Yeah, remember Luke? Remember
Well, now he's not awesome anymore. He's a crying old man in the corner. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, they really ham-fisted that into these movies. But I get why they did it. They got to make money. They got to get me in there with my kids and my grandkids or whatever, so that we can have the next generation hooked into the Star Wars thingy. But I don't know that it was well done. So I'm wondering, in 10 years, what Ryan Apologist is going to latch on to nostalgia wise. What are they going to bait him with in the next phase of this, in a decade or in 15 years? Because they're gonna do something. What is it about this movie that you would really like to see continued, Ryan?
All right, I remember when The Force Awakens came out, I read an article from a female film critic, but she wrote something to the effect of, growing up, I watched Star Wars. I watched it with my brothers. I watched it with my dad. I watched the prequels and they came out. But with the female protagonist of Rey, she essentially said, is this what they felt like the entire time for my brothers? Like this figure to look up to and pretend to be, and or just like emulate type of thing. So I think Rey, even though where we end up and how we got there isn't necessarily the most interesting, what I think they should do, what I think they could do, is maybe give us in a Rey story what fans were probably pining for Luke Skywalker. Give us a Jedi doing some sort of adventure, like alone type of thing. No emperor, no empire. Give us one bad guy.
And it could be more interesting if the conflict was her.
Yeah.
Like
that's
completely her character driven, like internal conflict. But
like, hypothetically, what if she was a Jedi but she used Force lightning? Because that's just.
Does she get to use super Force lightning?
Yes, because she's a Palpatine and has special blood.
Yeah, totally.
Because it is hinted that Finn. I don't know if John Boyega is interested in coming back for Star Wars ever, but it's hinted that he is Force sensitive, like he can sense which ship to go to. There's another thing that he knew where for some reason.
Oh yeah? Can you give an example of that, Ryan? Oh, how the turns have tables.
Like, I think it already has a name, like the New Jedi Order or something. Where it's like, I don't want maybe Rey to be training.
Do they train at the Star's floaty base? with the Wayfinder. Yeah, I'm in.
Yeah. Let's have, I don't know. Yeah, Rey struggling to be a teacher or something. Rey dealing with what she thinks a Jedi is versus who she is. I think that's interesting stuff.
I would totally watch that. I really liked Rey's character.
I had a dream. I had a Star Wars dream. It might be my first about a Rey movies. Okay, so Rey is going around the universe trying to create peace and trying to be some kind of a negotiator, some sort of a force for conversation, get people to resolve their differences. And in the midst of a battle, a whole bunch of people die, and she uses force lightning or whatever to pause the battle and get everybody. And then she uses her force power and she goes around and heals people. And at one point, the big bad guy, like the Stalin of the order, whatever the new order is, their Stalin is dead on the ground, and she gets to him and she's not going to heal him because he's the bad guy. And then this guy's little child, like a 4-year-old, comes up to her and says, "My daddy, you going to heal my daddy too?" And that's the kind of conflict I want to see in a Rey movie.
That'd be cool.
What do you use your powers for? That's the bad guy. Do you heal the bad guy because he's got a kid and that kid's not guilty? Does that kid need a dad, or does that kid get denied a dad?
Yeah.
Because you get to make that choice. That's the kind of personal conflict I want to see a Rey character in a Rey movie go through. Well, I get it, probably not.
I agree.
It's going to be all splodies.
Yep, I agree.
It's kind of like in the Transformers franchise. Bumblebee was just like 3. It's Bumblebee and 2 bad guys. They dialed it all the way back. I think that's what this next one should be. And we're getting other ones too, like James Mangold. He's got the first Jedi ever movie. Taika Waititi, who knows what he's doing? Probably woke stuff, if we're being honest. Oh, then the Sean Levi one, because Deadpool was a big hit, so he gets his own.
What we really need is an M. Night Shyamalan Star Wars movie.
I don't know if M. Night's the guy for
He knows he knows how to do a good movie. He knows how to make, movies like the sequels and the prequels also, but
that's true.
He can also make good movies. So
this is something we just learned as a fan, like the fans. Tony Gilroy, who's doing Andor, he said there's a horror Star Wars thing, and
give me that.
It might be a TV show, but
watch that.
There's something in the works there.
I would watch that. Cool.
Yeah, I'm kind of a different type of Star Wars fan because I'm not nostalgic for the cartoon shows like Clone Wars and Rebels. And that's maybe why I like Andor a little bit better than.
Wait, do you like Andor?
I love Andor. That's
why haven't you said anything?
It's my job to preach that as much as you
in this podcast.
Season 2 comes out next week, Deets, and it's going to be amazing.
You sure hope so.
I sure do. Anyway, but like the other shows, they're like all the member berries. It's like, oh wait, I forgot the Grogu movie's coming out. The Mandalorian and Grogu. That's a movie that's coming out.
I don't know what either of those people are, or groups of people.
We should watch that for the pod.
Okay, so let's go ahead and move into something else. So, the philosophy and the ethics of the real. I have 2 questions. So, for the ethics, Ryan Apologist already brought up the Huxes. I don't care if you guys win. I just want Kylo to lose. So, ethically speaking, is that ethically okay? So, whoever wants to go first, is it okay to make the focus of your life the destruction of another person or a company or, a way of life or whatever? So, whoever wants to grab that first, go.
What you really need to do to get down to the understanding of ethics is start at the most extreme, Deets. Let's start with Hitler. That's what he did last time. Like, yeah, obviously, if someone's as evil as Hitler, you want them to lose no matter what. But what about someone not as evil, like a non-specific politician who has different viewpoints of you. You know what I mean?
How far down do we go?
Right. And then you got to where I want to jump to is like people in your life, like people you have to associate with to some degree.
Yeah.
And I think what I would say, because that's the one that really matters to me, because that's like your life. I don't think you should be dedicating too much time for wishing the destruction of people who are outside of your realm of control.
Those people in your realm, you should count them.
Well, it's I think a continuous battle to try to overcome is what I think I would say, because if there's someone you don't like and then they get more money than you, maybe they're posting fancy trips in the Bahamas, and you're like, yeah, why do you deserve that? You were a jerk to me, you know?
Yeah.
Stuff like that. I think that's just a human thing we all have to kind of learn to
So we should
overcome.
overcome it.
I think so. However, there are bad people in this world, like evil people. Like it's just
J.J. Abrams.
like J.J. Abrams. No, not J.J. Abrams out of director jail. Let him direct another movie.
No, he belongs in jail, director jail. He made Super 8,
I like Super
which is
8.
magnificent movie, but I don't think that the righteous deeds outweigh the sins in his case. So, anyhow, Martin, what do you think?
I love the Hitler question because it's like super relevant because the whole world basically dedicated a generation to defeating Hitler. Doesn't matter who wins as long as Hitler loses. So who was our ally in that war? It's Russia. Like Stalin, Russia. You're going to ally with Stalin to defeat Hitler? Are you sure? What price do you pay for that? Like right now, like Russia's one of our top enemies in the world. For the whole Cold War, Russia was our top enemy in the world. How did we get there? I don't know. We were allied with them against one other guy. There's an ethical question for you right there. Is it ever appropriate to be allies with Stalin?
The enemy of my enemy, I think, right?
Yeah. Okay.
What's the cost?
Yeah, it did. Yeah.
What's the cost? There you go. What's the cost? An entire generation of
more than an entire generation.
Yeah. Was it worth it to defeat Hitler? Yeah, probably. I don't know. It's an unanswerable question because we only have the history we have. But there's definitely cost.
So I think my answer to the question is the balance of cost, like we were just talking about, but specifically like Ryan Apologist was talking about personal cost. So what is it going to cost me to tear this down or whatever? And it also has to be balanced with, is this something that needs to be torn down, or is it just a petty vengeance, or am I the only one being harmed? And we have to weigh, am I being actually harmed, or am I just being petty and annoyed at somebody?
It's also kind of like me, like as a teacher, but also as a parent. Like if you say, hey, if you do this, this is what's going to happen. You don't want to make an enemy. You don't want to battle necessarily, but you also need that authority to some degree. Is this a battle worth fighting? Yeah. Other times it's like, I can't let this go because of consequences. Yeah. And I'm not saying I'm good at this in either, I don't know, parenting or teaching probably. But like to some degree, it's like choosing what's going to be the important thing here. Is it more important for this to play out or for a winner to be declared type of thing? I need to say mine. Can I say my philosophical thing? Okay, Schopenhauer. His big thing is people in absolute will. It doesn't matter who you are, where you come from, what your background is, who your parents are. Ultimately, you are in charge of who you are. And that's like connected to Rey choosing to be a Skywalker and not a Palpatine. It's arguably Ben choosing to listen to his dad this time and kill the Knights of Ren and attempt to be the light side. So I think
3PO choosing to sacrifice his life to, oh wait, Never mind.
Anyway, this movie is saying you can choose. You can make the choice. And sometimes I think it's tempting to think we don't. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, I have to do this. That's what's expected of me from society or my parents. Be like Ray Skywalker and choose to be a Skywalker.
Or an apologist.
I gotta choose I gotta choose my own name because I gotta choose that. Come back to me with that.
I mean, a rose by any other name, am I right? It doesn't matter what you call it, it's still an apologist. Okay, anyhow. So the philosophy of the real for this week came from the Power Ranger in Star Wars, I believe, where Zuri Bliss is her name. So I don't remember word for word, but what she said was they defeat us by making us feel like we're alone, essentially. And so philosophically, we have a number of schools about the importance of connections with other people. But like, for example, Jean-Paul Sartre wrote a play in which the main message was basically hell is other people. We suffer because we desire connections that we don't have or can't have or whatever. That's one way of thinking. But I feel like the ultimate message of this movie is that we need people in order to become our best selves. We don't just need people to hang out with or make us feel better about ourselves or you know, even to kiss awkwardly in The Last Jedi or whatever. We cannot become our full, complete, true selves alone. And there's a lot of different, I mean, we've got Augustine, like that, the person that we need is God. Like we have to become one with God, or with like Confucius, we have to become one with the society, the social structure. Everyone has a role to play in that. And only by everyone playing that role does society function perfectly. But ultimately, I believe philosophy is kind of solidified on this idea that our Power Ranger said that whenever we feel alone, that's when our opponents win. Or conversely, if we ever feel alone, we can look for who are the opponent. Like, why am I feeling alone? Who is trying to make me feel this way? And you've identified your enemy, you've identified whether that's external or internal, and you can defeat that by strengthening your connections, building people up, lifting people. So that's my philosophy. Y'all can bat that around if you want.
It's kind of like when you need an army to appear, and who appears? People. It's like the Dunkirk moment. So you like that, I guess, because that's what you were just saying. They're like, who are they? They're just people. Or the Jedi thing I was saying earlier. That's just reinforcing what I was saying. Yeah, it's like Rey could only defeat Palpatine with all the Jedi. That's exactly what I was saying earlier. Yeah, you're just copying me, basically.
I just realized that. Martin, do you have any?
I think you're absolutely right. We need people around us to be complete. And I think just like the Force, we need the light and the dark, because threats around us, people who threaten us and scenarios who threaten us, keep us sharp. It makes us more threat sensitive, more defensive. It enables us to protect our families, the people we care about. You tend to huddle a little closer when there's threats around you. You need that, but also you need peace and you need complacency, because that's what makes us trust. You can't have all of one and you can't have all of the other, or you don't have a stable society. You have to have both.
Kind of like in Avatar: The Last Airbender, how Uncle Iroh teaches Zuko the secret to understanding fire is understanding water. Fire's opposite. Anyway.
Uncle Zuko, my man.
All right, I have a final thought. This movie is ultimately frustrating and lackluster. Some people do like it, but I think Star Wars is ultimately at a point where you can feasibly pick and choose. If you like this, good. Don't like this, there's a TV show for you. There's a video game for you. There's a future movie starring Ryan Gosling coming out for you. I mean, yeah, it's not for you, and that's too bad. And also too bad if you want to like all of them, but maybe it's even better if you just know the ones you like versus the ones you don't like. Unless you're Last Jedi, because you probably don't like it because a YouTuber told you not to like it. Am I right? I'm joking. Anyway, the point is Star Wars is for everyone, and it's fine that this one isn't good because there are other ones that are good.
That's fair. Martin, any?
My final thought is watch Firefly and Serenity instead. Honestly, if you wanted to do one of these episodes about a good series and show, you need to watch Firefly and Serenity, and then let's do this.
Let's do that instead of Lord of the Rings. That's a great idea. Yeah, tempting. We heard it. He said yes. So we will be, someday we will. Like after I'm dead, we can do Lord of the Rings. Anyhow, yeah, so we're done with Star Wars. So next week is my choice. We're going to watch one of my favorite Kevin Spacey movies called K-Pox. I think it's a good transition between science fiction and fantasy. The whole movie is demanding you try to figure out, like, is he an alien? Is he insane? Is he got this fantasy world that he lives in? And it's fantastic. I'm a pretty big Kevin Spacey as an actor in films fan. I recognize as a human being that he sucks, but I feel like he is a very, very talented actor. And this, I think, is my favorite movie of his. So that's what we're doing next week. K-Pox. Baby.
You know,
Stealing that.
when I tell people we're doing Lord of the Rings, everyone's like, "Oh man, those movies are so good." That's why we have to do it.
I want names. Name names. Brian, not that I don't believe you, but
everyone, every single person, every single coworker that's going to be a guest star. Anyway, here's the thing. Despite all of what Star Wars is, including the prequels, everything, I still like Star Wars a whole lot. There's something about it that it's the je ne sais quoi of it. As much as I don't want to be a cog in the machine of Disney, I'll watch it all probably. What am I saying? Probably. I'll watch it all. I already have.
Any final words of wisdom, Martin?
Nope. Thanks for having me. My feelings on J.J. Abrams is that he creates grand set pieces and doesn't exactly know what to do with it. Yeah. Has people talking, there's a lot of exposition, but mostly that's what his movies are. There's this big, rich depth of field shots, and there are just people standing in front of it talking. And I know some people like that, but for a Star Wars movie that's very story dependent and very character development dependent, I don't know that it works real well. He should make, I don't know, Transformers movies where it's just explosions.
We love you guys. Thank you for listening to this hodgepodge messed up, but ultimately probably pretty good episode. Thanks for listening.
We love you. Think critically. Bye.